You should, certainly you could get a shaped ice mold for your water nuts and just kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Now
know
that-
that cube tray.
Secret
Does the
nuts. That's
Contigo
good.
have a wide enough bottle mouth to put ice in? Is the question.
Yes, I
certainly.
think it does.
Depending on the size of your mold. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna like go too big, then maybe it won't fit in there. But something small.
Okay, anything that's about 2 fingers wide can fit.
I'm pretty sure, Beej, you said this was to be kid friendly. We need to move on.
Kids have fingers. They stick them in things all the time. You ever tried to pull a kid's fingers out of a light socket?
No, generally they do that on their own when the electricity ejects it out for them.
Oh, I got electrocuted once.
Of course you do.
Go on.
Yeah. So I was helping my dad wire the downstairs basement. I was like in my early 20s, and so he's like, so be careful when you're wiring stuff up, because I need you to do I need you to put the grounding tails in, which are just basically bare copper. But put this on there and do whatever. He's like, but don't screw around because you might, if you touch the live thing, so don't do that. Don't touch any of the ones that are live.
Don't touch.
I'm like, okay, I won't touch any of the outlets that are live. I lost track of which outlets were live.
So then you did the smart thing and didn't touch any of them.
So I thought it was still this one wall, and I'm like, okay, so I'm fine here. And so I took this because you can handle an entire outlet as long as you don't touch the 2 spots where it's live. And so what I did is I touched I picked up the outlet, and I was putting the copper tail on and screwing it onto the end of the getting on. And you're saying, oh, you're a kid. I was in my early 20s, and I was trying to get the thing in there, and my finger brushed one of the live contacts, and my hand went like that. It flew back on its own. I didn't even know what had happened. I just touched it. My hand went like that. And
your muscles had been full of electricity.
Yeah, it just basically was like, and I'm like, oh, geez. Like I was completely shocked by, but I was completely shocked by what had happened. And I realized, and I just kind of stood up and I got away from it. And my dad saw me, and I'm kind of like walking around doing this, like a little bit, kind of like the I don't know what to do dance, right? It's just kind of like, and he's like, what happened? I'm like, oh, I touched the live contact. And he's like, well, don't do that. And these ones are live. I'm like, I know. And he's like, okay, well, get back to, you can get back to it. He didn't say get back to it. He's like, you can get back to this.
To it.
And I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm not sure why we even had any of the circuits live at that point. It might be because it was dark in the basement. If we didn't have light, then we wouldn't have. So it's like whatever.
Work lamps, extension cords.
Right. And so I went for the next one to do, and I went towards it with my hands to touch it, and I stopped. Like I just kind of looked at it, like I put my hands towards it to touch it, and I just kind of stopped about 6 inches away from it, and then I put my hands down. I'm like, okay, and I go for it again. And I started laughing because I realized I couldn't force my body. I was literally trying to touch it, but my body was like, no, you're not.
No, your body learned a valuable lesson. And
Those neurons wired together real quick.
It was real weird. It was like, I've never tried to tell my body to do something that it didn't want to do. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Mm-hmm. I got over it. Like in about 30 seconds, I was like, okay, that's being stupid. Okay, just touch the thing here. Yes, you're fine. Okay, now go back and do the thing.
I don't know if we warned you, Carrie, but you're going to learn an awful lot about Beej. It'll make you question all kinds of choices.
Yeah.
Maybe in your own life, maybe in others. But at the end of the day, you'll still be okay with it.
When I'm anxious, I tend to get chatty.
How is that different than any other time I've ever been around you?
When I'm tired, I tend to get chatty.
It's a good thing you're in front of a microphone and tasked with filling 6 hours of time. That seems like a pretty good. Seems like a pretty good pairing.
Look, Molly came back this year, so I know she's like beach-proofed at this point. But Carrie's new, and I'd like her to come back.
Yeah.
At least part of my reaction to that is from one of the few things I remember from my drama degree, which is that electricity EFM, which stands for your effing magic, and you don't mess it. You just don't. You don't touch the electrical stuff unless you know what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
The guy who taught our class in lighting went to the University of Jet in the southeastern U.S. So he walked us through like all of the different places that the power comes from, all the way back to like the power plant with all the voltage that had. And then he explained it down through to like the break box in the theater, and that draws more than your average house. So it was very scary and very much about people not doing things.
Yeah.
So riveted by that story, I almost crashed.
Oh no.